Well, tell me what you're doing and the partnership with FedEx Cares, please.
Yeah, this is great. It's part of the great initiatives that FedEx has always been committed to, and that's always been supporting local and small businesses, increasing their presence in communities all around the U.S. And certainly, it's I've got to do a lot of great things with them over the years. But really, we're about trying to make these small businesses aware of being ready for natural disasters. 25% of small businesses actually go out of business after a natural disaster. So just being prepared for those moments that can come. And, we've got to visit one of the local boot shops around Charlotte and, help them be prepared for anything that can come their way. So FedEx has just been a great partner of ours for the last 20 years at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Now, obviously, it's a long partnership, but why was this something that really stood out to you that you wanted to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest part is I used to have a small business myself with my father at Chesterfield Trailer and Hitch in Virginia. We understand, being part of the commerce and how important that is to, servicing your community. A lot of businesses relied on us to keep them going throughout the days and the weeks. And so, FedEx is always just, they were always such an integral part of making sure we got everything that we needed to make sure that we could keep our customers on the road. So, it's great that it worked out to have the partnership with them as long as we have.
Denny Hamlin here with us. We obviously know you're one of the best drivers out there. Like, right? You play baseball as a kid, you pick up a baseball. People put a baseball bat in your hands. Football, you go out on the gridiron. I'm just curious, and I don't know if I'm sure you've told this before, but how did you really fall in love with racing cars, and when was like the first time you really got involved in it?
I went to a race when I was 5 years old. That's when it really all started. I went to a NASCAR race in Virginia. The minute I smelled the tires and the fuel and the cars going roaring by, I was done at that point. I knew I wanted to be a race car driver, and so I just worked at it. And my parents bought me a go-kart when I was just a young kid. I was 8 years old, and I won my very first race. And you give a kid a trophy at 8 years old, he wants to go get more, and so it just kind of led to getting up the ranks one spot at a time, and just had a great opportunity to meet the right people that helped fund this thing as long as they did.
I won our little league in baseball, whatever the championship, the World Series was, but it doesn't mean that you're going to go on to do this professionally. Once I realized I couldn't hit a curveball, I knew I wasn't going to find a way to go to college for baseball or even play in high school. So it's one thing to get a trophy at such a young age, but when did you realize, okay, hey, I'm not only enjoying this, but I'm pretty good at this and I could make this into a living?
That's a good question. I mean, I would probably say, my first, although I was winning kind of in the junior league, when I was 8 years old, it's still, I had a period when I was about 10 where I'm like, you know what, I'm not winning as much. I'm going to try other sports. And I tried other sports and baseball, basketball, and I just wasn't good at them. And so at 12, I went back into racing. And then really when I started turn 15, 16 was the moment where it was like, okay, I'm competing at every level that I've been at so far. And so I think I finally got an opportunity in a car that was capable of winning, and I was able to win a lot. And so at that point, I felt like this was my calling.
Denny Hamlin here with us. We've all seen the news. You've been docked 75 points and 10 playoff points because of engine rules violations. When that came down the other day, Denny, just how'd you react to it?
Yeah, it was certainly a bummer from my standpoint. It's very unique. I think it's a situation where we have a manufacturer in Toyota that's been great partners of ours for 20 years. They build the engines out in California, and it was kind of a simple mistake on their part to send the engine to the wrong place. And unfortunately, it got torn down. And, when they realized they had made a mistake, they called NASCAR to try to rectify it, but it was too late at that point. And so, our team's going to have some big obstacles to go over these next 12 weeks or so to try to win a championship. It took away 2 races worth of wins of bonus points away from us. So it was a big penalty for sure, and certainly something that I was not happy to hear that news when it came out.
It seems harsh, if you ask me, right? I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, knowing that, we didn't have, we know that there was no advantage to it. It was a simple, kind of clerical error, as Toyota stated. But man, it is a black and white rule, and it's like, it's just, they wish they could take it back. They wish they could fix it, but unfortunately, my name, my team are the ones that are gonna, have the brunt of the penalty.
Yeah, how does that impact you? Because I know the way that you just laid it out. I know the way that it's been reported, but from afar, some people will just see the punishment. They'll be like, "Oh, Denny Hamlin, is a cheater." So, like, when you hear things like that, how do you even respond to someone that says those things?
Yeah, I mean, you just try to educate them the most that you can, and I think that Toyota's statement kind of said it all, and them taking responsibility for it. And obviously, I don't think I've ever built my own engines in the course of my career, not even in go-karts. But it wasn't a thing where the engine was illegal in any way, shape, or form. It just didn't go through the inspection process that normal all race engines go through, because of our system and how it's set up, where you can race an engine and it can be inspected at a later time because you're going to run that engine at another race in the future. So it just was. It was an oversight. It was a flat-out oversight, and certainly one that I wish we could go back and fix.
Since you didn't have a part in this, how'd you find out, and when did you find out that this happened, or this was something that could be a possibility and a topic of conversation?
I got called into a meeting with Toyota. They said they needed to meet with me in person. I thought that was like, okay, what's going on? I get in a room with JGR and 3 or 4 executives from Toyota, and my crew chief, and I'm just like, okay, this is not normal. And I just happened to look at the iPad across from me, and it says NASCAR penalty, and I'm like, oh man, what did I do? And so they kind of laid it all out. Here's what we did. Here's how we messed it up. It's black and white. There's no kind of refuting it. We tried our best to rectify it, and it just didn't happen. And so, it's a bummer because this goes back to like March, right? And such a long time ago. And so you think, you work so hard to accumulate all these points throughout the year. I mean, every 1 point that I gain can go through the playoffs, and that carries in every single round. And now to have those points taken away from the regular season, really, and the playoffs, I mean, that's a big hit for us.
Do you still think you could win it all, even with this punishment?
Yeah, I mean, we can. Certainly we can. I think if we just finish where we run every week, we can win the championship. It's just, we're in a sport where things don't always go as planned, right? And sometimes in our sport, when your opposition makes a mistake, you pay the price. And so if I could control my own destiny, I feel pretty good about it. But you just never know, and the sample size, certainly in these 3 race seasons, these brackets of seasons that we're going to have through the playoffs, you can't have one bad week, and then certainly this takes away our room for error.
In your next race tomorrow, Denny Hamlin, what do you want to prove? Do you feel like you need to prove something with after what happened?
I think I feel it more kind of at Darlington in the sense of, I really feel like I can play a role in our finish there. Here at Daytona, certainly you can execute. That's a big part of it. But I just think that, the driver always plays a bigger role in the non-super speedway tracks. And so I think that I want to win this weekend. That's one way we can get half of those points back, is just go win. And so certainly I'm motivated to do that.
Denny Hamlin, before we let you run here with us on behalf of FedEx Cares, which you talked about earlier in this conversation, I saw that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Took to Twitter and came to your defense. Just what did that mean to you when you saw that, if you did?
Yeah, I did. I think he kind of understands that, what all happened, right? And he knows that, the race team, the driver, and the manufacturer all have a relationship, and everyone has their own roles in that relationship. And so I think he was a bit sympathetic for us at that moment, being that it was such a long time ago, and again, something that is very normal that happens in the sense of you don't inspect the engine right away. You go to a long time down the road, but the rules is the rules, and as long as NASCAR keeps going by the rules, everything will work out.
Last thing I want to ask you, and I really do appreciate the time today. I know through 2311, you and Michael Jordan have a relationship. We have Dwight Freeney on the show a bunch, and Dwight Freeney, the former Colts player, Hall of Famer, is very close golf buddies with Michael Jordan. How did you kind of strike up this relationship and become close with MJ?
It really started from me going to a Hornets game when I was a season ticket holder there in probably 2008 or so. And then, he pulled me aside. We had a conversation, exchanged numbers, and realized pretty quickly he was a NASCAR fan because he says, every single Sunday. So it just started a friendship, and the friendship turned into a partnership when he started, saying, okay, I'll be the sponsor of your suit and your shoes and things like that. And then it slowly went into, we ran a Jordan brand truck not long ago. This is probably 10 years ago or so. And then we started a race team 4 years ago. And a lot of that was just my ambition to be a car owner in NASCAR. And I knew I couldn't do it without a partner. So got my business plan together, met with him and says, here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to fund it. Here's how we're going to be successful. And he said, I'm in.
So obviously you're one of the best at what you do, but Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. Is that just surreal that you have this relationship with one of the more famous people on this planet?
No doubt about it. I mean, certainly is. And, what I love about it is, how, humble he is when it comes to our partnership in the race team, right? He really trusts me to run it the right way. And he puts a ton of autonomy in my hands to do it. And so that's why our team is successful as it is right off the bat. They've got a championship contender, obviously, already in Tyler Reddick this year. So, we're excited about the future, and certainly it was my pathway to being involved in the sport well beyond my driving days.
He's Denny Hamlin. Denny, hey, good luck the rest of the year. I really appreciate you joining us, telling us about FedEx Cares, but obviously all that's going on in the news, honoring and staying through the commitment and coming on today. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah, and any small business owners out there, if you can go to readyforresilience.com, it'll help you get prepared for any of these disasters. And FedEx, you can also, end up getting a grant from FedEx from there as well. So thank everyone for having me, and appreciate you.